What have you lost during COVID-19, and what's next to lose? That's a tough question that I've been asking myself a lot lately. My heartfelt thoughts and prayers go out to those of you that have lost loved ones due to COVID-19 or related illnesses. Experiencing loss is part of the human condition, but it doesn't make it any easier. I look back over the past 18 months, and I feel like the entire world has been playing this massive game of 52 card pickup. Our values, our priorities, and the things that were important to us were all in these neatly stacked decks. And then along came COVID or some other horrible thing in your life, and that deck of cards was thrown in the air, the cards fell to the ground, and now we find ourselves looking around, picking those cards up, looking at it and saying, I still like that, or maybe I don't, and we toss it out. This idea and this process of picking up our cards, we give them this closer look, and things that maybe at one time we thought were really important are no longer that important. Priorities have shifted, and maybe even our relationships and the things that we shared with our partner have changed. Changed for them, changed for us. And that puts us into this position maybe of having lots of stress and anxiety. And some of these changes may have snowballed to a point where you find yourself alone. You find yourself wondering what's going on, and maybe your zest for life and your energy is just going away. There's hope. You can start your healing journey with just one step. Healing can take a long time, and it's not a straight path. When things start to get good, sometimes we become very scared, and we experience this thing that Brene Brown calls foreboding joy. Foreboding joy is kind of it's this way we prepare ourselves for maybe a worst case scenario, but by preparing ourselves for a worst case scenario, we're never really able to experience true joy. Now, what I do is I sort of do a mental mind shift. And when I experience foreboding joy, and I still do, I let it remind me that that's telling me that I really care about something. And then I remember that caring about something is vulnerability, and vulnerability is courage. And that's how I fight foreboding joy, by letting it teach me something, let it tell me what's important to my life, and then celebrating that I have that thing in my life that is very important to me. At the height of my relationship problems, foreboding joy and rumination were really huge. And I spent most of my time ruminating about worst case scenarios and how I could please my wife. And I had conversations in my mind during this experience of ruminating and foreboding joy that I should have had with somebody else. And instead, I just put myself into this fight or flight or this panic mode when my rational brain just wasn't working anymore. When you're in fight or flight, you lose the ability to really think clearly. I was so afraid and embarrassed and felt shame for the thought of another failed relationship. Being by myself was a huge fear for me, and being unloved or being unable to love somebody was my biggest fear. In part one of the Antics, we experienced this sense of this crazy-making relationship and this really all-consuming rumination and these feelings of foreboding joy. And it's something that you can relate to. It's something that when you see it, you'll know, wow, I'm not alone. Then in part two of the Antics, we start this healing journey, and we learn how to take that first step on your healing journey. We can learn to use foreboding joy and our feelings as a guide to our true selves. We can embrace vulnerability and allow it to bring us to real courage, the courage to heal, the courage to grow, and the courage to change. We can begin to change when we finally understand who and what we are instead of trying to be who and what we are not. Start your healing journey today by getting a copy of the Antics, cracking it open, and giving it a read.